Well, like I was saying, I was talking about the Hindu religion and the Agori sect and what their practices were. I was just basically wanted to explain that, you know, on the whole topic of like Hindu religion in general are very accepting of other religious and spiritual expressions within, you could say, people in general. So, but what it's interesting, even in that kind of culture, the swastika is considered to be one of the most holy and sacred symbols. And what I wanted to say is basically we should really we should just educate ourselves behind what's actually going on in this kind of symbolic thing as well.
I want to do that topic next time, more symbolism. What does it like affect to the human? You told me before it's like it's really powerful. Nobody realizes how powerful it is. For example, pentagram. You said it's like really positive energy. If you reverse it, it becomes like really negative. This is like I think the most famous one, a popular one, let's say. But like for example, triangle. Triangle means a lot of meaning, right? Like, I mean, I guess you know more than me. Circle. I don't know. Circle is like really simple symbol, but what else there is? Like horse's eye. Is that like a? Is it like a symbol, right?
Horse's eye.
Horse's eye. Like Egypt is a horse's eye.
Okay,
so maybe we jump into other.
Yeah. Interestingly, yeah. If you're talking about the symbolism of the Eye of Horus and everything, people have noticed recently that actually the shape of the Eye of Horus actually looks like the shape of a pineal gland within brain structure and everything. They found out that actual certain part of the brain really does kind of like depict that.
I saw that. I saw that picture. Actually, like if you slice the brain in half, it just looks like the pineal gland is part. Exactly look like horse's eye.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's why we jump in a topic. But that's like they knew the power in there, right?
Yeah, exactly. And people say if you open your pineal gland, you can see everything, you know everything, like and exactly access all information, knowledge about the universe and everything. And and some people say it's the seat of the soul, basically, where your consciousness resides and everything. So that's extremely sacred as well. I want to say, I mean, I just wanted to say in general, I think a lot of like these religious practice people do or symbols people use in these kind of religious denomination. Not many people actually know the significance of power behind it, because people take things for granted. It's like, it's always been there, so what does it mean? Oh, it may mean this or that and whatnot, you get it? But that kind of like, going back to the whole symbolism, we're not just talking about, pictorial depiction of symbols as well. You can have like a symbolic act as well. Like, the most famous kind of like symbolic act is like symbolic representation of act is like dying and resurrecting kind of motif that can be observed in all sorts of religion or like spiritual traditions. The most famous of being and most well known is like dying and resurrecting the sun god, Jesus, basically Christ in Christianity. You get it? But this whole depiction of, it's interesting, like I think quite a lot of Christian thinks that kind of like some kind of like a divine person or like a savior figure being hanged on a cross and being sacrificed to redeem certain kind of like power and knowledge and like sin and save people from sin kind of idea is unique to like Christianity, but it isn't, because that kind of depiction can be observed in like Mesoamerican culture and like and even in Scandinavia. If you're talking about
really?
if you're talking about the chief god Odin, the Allfather or the head of the Nordic pantheon, he's known to hang himself from the wall tree from 9 nights, and through that he pierced himself with a spear on the side of his back.
Yeah.
And on the 9th night he descended into the underworld, and he basically found the secrets of the runes. Runes are, if some of you don't know, runes are like the symbolic kind of like you could say like alphabet used in Germanic culture, where you have like the Fufa, which is about like 23 or 24 kind of like separate, like a runic kind of symbol. So you could say it's like a language of the pre-Christian like North and Germanic people and Scandinavia. They used to write things in runes as well. So you can see if you go to like Sweden or like certain parts of Denmark as well, you can find things like rune stones in which all these like symbols are being carved, inscriptions being carved with runic symbols together, and they can actually decode this and you can actually read it. It's actually, they usually just tell that this rune stone is being erected in honor of blah blah blah, someone who died in a battle, and we honor him, and we erect this stone monument to him and that kind of thing. Usually it has a pictorial depiction of like battle scenes or like a dragons or like different kind of mythological motif in there and everything. So basically, Odin, when he sacrificed himself, he found the secrets of the runes, and what they say is like when he found that runes actually, it's believed that each rune has like a cosmic principle behind it. So there's actually different sets of it. You have like the younger Fufa runes, and like you have these different rune sets and everything. But what each of them depicts is like certain principle in creation. So if you're talking about the Fairful runes, which is like it looks like F, kind of like in like alphabet in the English alphabet, but what that actually represents is like wealth and prosperity. So that could represent that principle behind it and everything. It's just like there's so many theories about what the actual meaning or the rune usage behind runes and everything, but they all symbolize something together. So going back to it, so basically Odin, when he sacrificed himself on the 9th night, he descended into the underworld and he discovered these runes or the symbols, and he picked it up, screaming he picked it up, and he brought it back, and he basically gained that knowledge of runes, and basically he gifted to humanity the knowledge of runes again, and that's why it's been like found everywhere across Scandinavia and like Northern Germanic people and everything. So interestingly, going back to it, so Jesus has been sacrificed. You know,
Came back.
exactly, and he was sacrificed.
Mm.
He was stabbed with a spear
Oh yeah.
on the side
exactly.
as well.
Yeah.
And after he died, he descends into the hell and he faces Satan, right? Then he ascends back. Sounds quite
Pretty
similar to
yes,
what
yeah.
Odin was doing in a sense. It might be in different contexts and everything, but that kind of thing is being found in like the Greek religion as well.
Even I don't know about Muslim, Islam, but it's kind of no. Sorry.
So if you're talking about the Greek or Roman kind of like religions where you have the god Dionysus, and he was basically crucified on the cross, and he descended, and then he resurrected on the third day and everything. This I've even found evidence that even in Finnish mythology, they have this god who.
I never heard of Finnish mythology.
Exactly, it sounds kind of obscure and everything. Even in that, they have this god called Lemminkainen, which is like Lemminkainen, which is like a trickster kind of like divine hero kind of guy who, at one point, he gets killed by one of his close associates. I'm not expert on Finnish mythology and everything, but or like his brother, I think it was like half brother or something. Then he was kind of like he was chopped into bits and like scattered across and everything. So his mother comes and tries to get every part of his body back into one piece and try to resurrect him back again as a thingy. But this kind of like chopping up the body kind of thing can be found in the myth of Osiris as well. And Osiris, he was killed.
Oh yeah, exactly. The front and nine.
Exactly. And Osiris, as some of us know, that the Osiris myth in which Osiris was killed by his brother Set. Set representing the darkness and whatnot, and he kills Horus. Horus, Osiris, and he decapitates him and scatters his bodies into the river Nile, basically, and his Osiris's wife, his sister and wife, she collects the body of the Osiris, and then I think the Osiris's mother comes together as well, and they look around the whole across the Egypt to actually find his scattered remains and put him back into his body. Resurrect him.
I don't know if I'm right, but what I remember is like they couldn't find the dick, so they made like an artificial dick and put it something like it was.
So they even if you're talking about Osiris myth, so because they couldn't find his the phallus or genitals, so what they did was they constructed like the golden phallus instead of that and replaced it back. And I'm not expert on Osiris myth, but that's what they did, and they resurrected him and whatnot. But interesting thing is like going back to the Nordic mythology as well. There's kind of like dying and resurrecting god theme.
It's a common theme.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just depicted with the chief god Odin, but even with his son Balder. Balder, god of light, and the god of summer, sunshine, and the god associated with all things that's good in the world and everything. And Balder, he's been the son of Odin as well. He was actually considered to be the most beloved god of all the Nordic pantheon. Even him. So they have this kind of myth related to the god Balder, in which it was predicted that he'll actually one time and one day die. One day he'll get killed by something. And then Boulder has this like a nightmare of him being like another dream reference there. And even gods have dreams about the predicting death and coming death and everything. And so he kept having that. So what Odin did was he went to the he was trying to prevent this thing from happening and everything. And I can't remember the exact myth. And it's like, so what Balder's mother, Frigg, goddess Frigg, which is basically a wife of Odin and everything, told every living creature on earth and made a promise with every living creature on earth not to actually harm Balder and to cause any harm and everything. They all agreed to it and everything. Except, but she had one thing that she didn't make promise to was just like a mistletoe, which is like basically like a small shrub that grows on a tree and everything. Because she thought, that's not gonna harm Balder because it's not gonna do anything to it. So when goddess Frigg made that promise to almost every creature on earth not to harm her Balder, and so every god was very happy about it. It's like, our most beloved god is not going to be harmed or anything. So one time Balder came to one of the fields and everything. So all the gods around him started throwing things to him and everything, but nothing could harm him because everything gets repelled because so that promise was made by all the living things and things around him and everything. But at one point there was just like he had this half brother called Holder or Holnir. And it was known that he was people say he was the god of blind or god of darkness and god of winter and everything. And he will watch it. He usually gets depicted with some kind of cotton cloth around his eyes, and so he can't see and everything. And it's like as if some of you guys are aware of Norse mythology, there's like a trickster god called Loki, which actually is part of the pantheon of the Norse gods and everything. But he causes a lot of mischief towards God and everything. And what he decided to do was like he transformed into a certain woman, like an old hag and everything, called Thok, which actually means thanks, like Old North mythology, or tak, if you're talking about the recent Icelandic kind of language. So Loki transformed himself into this old woman or hag, and he goes up to this he goes up to goddess Frigg and asks about everything. He was I think asking was like, so God Balder doesn't seem to get harmed by anything. Why is that? Oh, because, and then Frigg said, because I made a promise to every living thing on earth not to harm my son from anything to get it. And they gladly accepted it. That's why he's actually he's almost like invincible and everything. Then Thok asked Goddess Frigg, is there anything that you didn't make a promise to? And she thought about it. Oh yes, there was one thing. I didn't make any promise to mistletoe because I thought, what could that small thing make any harm or anything? So I didn't make any promise to the mistletoe or anything. And the Thok was like, I see. And she went back into it. So going back to this god Honya and the blind god, which is like the half brother or brother of Boulder. He was like he was like standing there when all the gods were throwing some things to him. It's like he was standing there not doing it because he's been blind and can't do anything. And Thok goes up to the god Honya and said, "Oh, why aren't you participating? What God's doing? Well, old woman, I'm a blind god and I cannot see what's going on and everything. So but I want to participate, but I can't." You get it? Thinking, okay, wait a minute. And she goes and gets a mistletoe, and she makes like an arrow from mistletoe. Yeah. And she said, "Okay, God, use this to throw it to the god Boulder and everything." And him being blind and didn't know who it was, whatever. And so the old hag Thok, guided him to actually how to throw it and everything. So they threw that. And mistletoe arrow towards Boulder and struck Boulder in his heart. He fell dead, basically. And everyone was like so shocked. It's like, how could this happen? How could this happen? And everything, and he basically died and everything. There's that whole story of one of because there's a whole Norse cosmology and mythology behind this whole thing, in which it's a bit complicated, but basically the god Loki, who's pretending to be the old woman Thok, has a daughter called Hel, who governs the realm of the dead, basically. And people and scholars seem starting to realize that maybe the word hell actually comes from this goddess called Hel in Norse mythology. So everyone who dies in Norse mythological context goes to this place of the realm of hell, basically, and she gets to keep their soul in that realm, right? So one of I think it's either Odin or one of his servants actually goes to hell, in the realm of hell, and asks the goddess Hel to bring back Boulder again. Yeah. And on the earth again, on the everything. But said, okay, I can only do that if every living being on this earth or in this universe actually cries and weeps for the death of Boulder and everything. So he heard that, and he came back and told the gods about it. So the gods went about and Frigg went about and asked all the living things on the planet or on the earth what they thought about the death of Boulder, and most of them were weeping and crying because he was the most loved god in the Norse pantheon and everything. Then one of the gods came up to this old woman and asked, "What do you think about the Boulder's death and everything?" And the woman was like, "I could not care less to get it. You can die in hell and be tormented. Just stay there forever." And this old woman Thok turns into a raven. I think on one like a bird. And she flies off to get it. So in that context, Boulder needed to stay in the realm of hell, basically, because this was one person or one creature that didn't weep for Boulder's death. That was Thok, meaning Loki, basically. So, getting to that point, it's interesting that even in that kind of Buddhist myth of like dying kind of thing. And long story short, basically after the world destruction or the Ragnarok, as they call it in mythology,
last war.
Exactly. It has been predicted actually a Buddha comes back again in the next cycle of like the world and the face and everything. So there is that kind of book as well. So then you can see that there's a dying, resurrecting theme within even Odin's son. You get it? And what I wanted to say was like there's that kind of similarity between the murderer or the killer of that sun god. If you go back to the Osiris myth, what did Osiris myth? Who killed Osiris? His brother Set. Set representing a god of chaos and darkness.
Destruct everything.
And destruction and everything. And he killed him. But that kind of same motif of like, if you're talking about Norse mythology, who killed Baldur? His brother, Honir, who is the god of winter, blind and darkness. So it's that kind of like parallel similarity there as well, which is quite interesting to see. So I wanted to say that this kind of like ritualistic act and symbolism, even in mythologies and legends of one around the world, they're signifying something to it. And as we all know, dying and resurrecting kind of like a god thing actually has origin astrological kind of like theme as well. So divine son being born on the winter solstice or at the Christmas time is actually astrological as well. Because that's been like depicted throughout the world, like that's why it's been celebrated throughout the world around that time, because the divine mind is coming back, the light is coming back in the darkest time of the year and everything. And all this like symbology, or what they want to say, is like that kind of like everything is written above, the famous axiom, as above so below. So some call these kind of like depiction in mythology and legends is like a cosmic drama, meaning like it has a cosmic kind of theme to it or significance to it. So it applies to everything in the world. It actually it applies to the principle and truth behind the whole life itself, basically. So going on to that kind of slightly diverging off from that kind of topic is like this kind of like idea of like symbolism being reflected from the higher realms to the different realms and everything. I've come to realize that even in recent times, certain ritualistic action is actually depicting or like expressing certain motif. Like but so no man, like several years back, I actually kind of looked into Sufism as well. But you know how this like this like twirling dervish is like it's spinning around, right? And turning around, like spinning and trying to get into that kind of trance state and everything. But that I read somewhere that what they're trying to do is like they're trying to mimic the movements of the planet or the stars, basically. So when they're spinning, it's like when the planets or stars are actually spinning, in the universe, right? Basically in the cosmos, they're spinning and everything. And what the Sufi practitioners are trying to do is mimic that movement as they're spinning.
I don't get it how
So they use the
use a wand to like spin around. Or I don't know.
or basically they wear this garment that when they spin,
Yeah.
it spins into like a circle.
Oh.
If you look at from above, it looks like a circular,
Okay, yeah.
circular motion and everything. But they usually use the color white to symbolize holiness and everything. But the color white, well, when you think of color white, what do you think of?
Light, snow.
Yeah. And certain people say it actually depicts the color of the stars.
Okay, yeah.
If you see stars in the sky, it's usually white or like bluish, right?
Yes.
And so they wear that garment, and this, what they say is like they're imitating the rotation of the celestial bodies, basically. So when I say even that kind of like dance and ritualistic movement, they believe that it draws power because it's mimicking certain forces in higher dimensions or nature.
Yes.
And when they perform that kind of ritualistic action on this earth, it actually draws in the power too.
Yeah.
So going back to the whole idea of symbolism as well, as we were saying about the swastika, what does it depict? Pictorial depiction. What does it depict? It depicts the movements of the sun across the different seasons, right? And different cycles of solstices and equinoxes. And if you depict that in a pictorial manner, it's actually mimicking that whole principle and movement. So they've noticed that when you do that, it actually draws in the power. And people say this is like it's some form of imitative rituals, or imitative magic even. The common term used in like folkloric or like anthropology term is like sympathetic magic, meaning like when you perform certain action that imitates certain action or thing, it actually transfer that kind of like this is actually the energy reaction towards that kind of thing. So one good example may be so if you're talking about like folkloric kind of practice or magic or folk kind of ritual, what people used to do was like, if you're talking about in Europe, people used to do certain things, and if they want to cure someone from like illnesses or like some ailments they're having and everything, what they do is like they set up an altar dedicated to certain saints, right? Saints associated with healing or something. If you're talking about Catholicism, you have many saints associated with like holy powers and healing and everything. And what they did is like they would bring something, they would construct certain objects resembling a part of their body that's affected by the illnesses or like an injury or something. Like, let's say if that person you're asking to be healed has some kind of like a leg or knee problem or something, what this like folk folk magicians or folk healers or practitioners used to do was like they made a certain like a small cast of the body part. So they would like make a cast of like a small object resembling a leg or a knee, right? And in that they'll even put some hair samples of that person, and then they depict it to imbue it with like the life force of that person and everything. And they'll put that into the altar of the saint, and they'll pray to the saint to actually heal that leg part and everything.
Okay, that sounds like it's like a kind of jujutsu in Japan. Like it's like reverse version, but they use a hair to put inside a door, and it's like a curse to somebody. It's like I don't know. Just find a connection. It's like reverse version.
So if you're talking about folk rituals and magic kind of thing, they used to have this practice in which they believe that if you get a person's nail or like the hair and everything, that becomes like a body double of that person, because it is that kind of like our body is connected to our own spirit or soul, right? So if you employ that into certain rituals of folk magic and everything, you can actually manipulate that person, because having that life, that hair actually means that you have the essence of that person as well, which is quite interesting. So what I was trying to say is, depicting that whole cast of a leg and a knee and everything, and presenting that into the altar and asking the saints to heal it, and you can even like utter certain verbal charms over it to heal, invoke certain forces like Christ or Virgin Mary to heal that person from that leg, that's what they used to do. So they depict certain object or thing that represents that thing in general, basically. So going back to the whole sympathetic kind of ritual of what Sufis were doing, it's like they symbolically kind of like depicted the whole movements of the celestial bodies to draw in the celestial energies and forces to them. So they imbue that whole power energy in them, and they fall into the more meditative state. And there is that famous saying that even in that kind of Taoistic kind of belief that every man or woman is assigned to a star on the birth. So there's that kind of like, if if you see a falling star, you mean someone has passed away. Because they believe that in Taoistic kind of like belief that every soul is connected to a star. Star and everything. So if
star mean like a planet, or just like I was in my head, I had like a horoscope kind of thing.
Like a sun.
It does.
Sun is like the closest star
to
our planet, right, on Earth and everything. But if you look at the sky, you see all those kind of like different stars and everything. You see each star in Taoistic belief is like connected to each person on Earth, on the soul of the Earth. So every time a new person is born on this Earth, a new star appears on the sky. Well, that's what they believe. So
that's a really romantic. I like that way.
Even so, they have the kind of like kind of astral divination in which they look at the sky to predict certain things.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's
so like in Japan, they say Hoshima. So they had a kind of like basically celestial and kind of kind of fortune telling and relating to like stars.
Yeah.
They call it astromancy. So like trying to like predict certain things from looking at the astrological movement, and, the star movement, and everything. And Babylonian people were very advanced in this.
Yeah, they're
like,
really good at it.
Yeah, exactly. And so
they even read it like how do you say it's a black dots in sun. They read this one and they do the business on it.
Yeah. Because they're working on the whole axiom that what's been depicted in the celestial sphere or higher realm has a direct influence in our world as well. Okay, so them doing that kind of begs the question of like, it's almost like in ancient people they were very aware of that kind of like side of reality, so they actively deploy that kind of like ritualistic action in their daily life to benefit themselves. So that is why like everything that seems kind of mundane and non-ordinary things, certain actions we take, has a certain roots as well. Into that kind of like imitated kind of like ritual magic.
It's like Gemini, like acts. It's like a horoscope, right? It's I don't know.
Astrology, I personally feel is a valid form of like method to determine things. There's a lot of valid things for it because like certain planetary like influences has effect on our daily lives and whatnot. Even certain scientists are starting to realize that actually certain celestial bodies in the universe actually emit certain vibration towards the Earth.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know, just like maybe gravity, like even like the sea when it's like it's because the planets there, gravity. So in human, yes, I believe so.
Exactly. And one famous example is like if you're talking about the body of the moon phase and the effect it has on the planet Earth as well. You can see like when it's full moon, waning.
People get violent, like lunatic high kind of thing.
Exactly, and like even it causes like certain gravity pull, like tidal waves to happen because of the whole gravity pull from the moon and everything. So people are saying if they can have influence over the tidal wave, tides within the oceans or like sea, what makes you think that it has no effect on us?
True.
Because 70% of our body is actually consists of water. So having certain moon phases of like full moons on waxing moon, we can say that it has no effect on us. And there's an interesting report that on the phases of a full moon and everything, things of accidents and like violent attacks and like thievery seems to go up in percentage on those phases of a time, which is quite interesting. So it's even been observed in that kind of statistics. So going on to that topic, and like not only moons but even different planets have different planet Jupiter, like planet Mars and Venus, all these emit certain vibration or frequency towards the Earth, and it has an effect on us as well. And some people are speculating that maybe astrology is actually based on that kind of like maybe like a sort of scientific understanding, and they just call it astrology basically. Maybe it's like a form of science that they kind of like depicted in an ancient times. So yeah.
So well, I want to mention something. If you have anything like to talk about, just like leave a comment below, and just like we talk about this topic. So we're doing this one every week, right, John? So if you have anything like interesting, like about like anything like spirituality, so please like leave us a comment.
If you have any questions or topics you want us to discuss about,
yeah,
we'll research about it and talk about it. And if you know about it, we'll just talk about it off the cuff and discuss things in general. And
so see you next week.
Thanks, guys. And if you're watching, see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.